Vikram, I mean, I was just counting the number of views that the trailer has got. I've lost count. For somebody who's been making films for what, 6 decades,
Yeah.
do you get nervous and anxious before a release, or have you come around to that?
It's anticipation more than being anxious. And yes, I get nervous before I finish the final edit when we see. Till then, I'm nervous. Then the result is sealed, packed and ready to be served. So it's either got a little more salt than necessary or perfect sometimes, and that's how I see it from my experience. No use getting nervous even while you're performing.
Absolutely. And since you have, it's going to, I mean, there are like 4 big talents in one frame. I mean, you can't get bigger than this. And I know Mr. Balachandran had told you that you should never be the scene stealer. The movie and the scene is important. But you yourself said that you're a competitive actor. So when you are working with people who bring different talents and, you know, modalities on set, what is it like?
It's like what Mr. Kapil Dev must have felt in '83. He didn't know he was going to win, but the spirit of competition was there. There's no jealousy. As a matter of fact, it must have been more admiration for them. But still, there was this competition, and that's the way it should be, and that's how it is. And for me, my friends who were there were admirers, and genuinely so, not a sort of a cordial thing to say, I like your films kind of thing. They really did like my films and couldn't recite and say dialogues from my films, that kind of admiration. So it was like, as I said, it was like working while you're being felicitated.
True, because when I did speak to Mr. Fahadh and he said that, I'm doing this film and it's with the Kamal Haasan. And I mean, you are like, I would say, a textbook and a masterclass when it comes to the performing arts, because you're not just
No, it is a masterclass, but I'm learning.
Wow, that's really, you know, humble of you to say, but also with your director, you know, and he also, this is your first time working with him, but with Arvind, you worked before, the music director. What was that like, sir?
He is also an admirer. He says he came to films because of me.
Wow.
And he thinks of himself as my assistant director, so who has not worked with me. So it was fun, and it was like they had read my mind. So even the directions were from my earlier films.
Wow.
And he would say, you remember that scene? I said, I prefer to forget it, but jog my memory. And he would say, that scene, suppose it happens here, I want you to perform like that.
Wow.
So for every move, I said, stop quoting Kamal Haasan, give me some other good actor, better actor, so that I can pick up from that. He said, for me, that's the only thing. So it was actually confusing for me, but it was enjoyable.
So also for someone, and also like I just like spoke to you, I've been watching your movies since the late 70s, early 80s. Your basically career has spanned each generation, you know. There have been parents, now their children are watching it, now their children are watching it. How have you changed over years? Has your process changed? Because also your films have been in terms of technology
like a
and music.
company. They have a brand name, they make chocolates. People like chocolates, and you seem to be the company who's producing it. There are many chocolate companies.
Absolutely.
One brand stands. Thank you.
So will we be seeing a second part 2 and planning a trilogy?
Actually, he has hinted at that in the film itself.
Wow. And so I know there's a lot of talk about pan-Indian films. What people forget is back in the day when you made movies like Hey Ram, even before that, they were pan-Indian films.
Yes, I want a larger audience, and we understand each other's culture so well that it's captive audience ready to receive your stuff. So why not pan-India? Everyone should attempt that.
Absolutely.
And what people choose becomes the winner.
Now, it seems people these days are choosing films that come from the South, because you are well aware of the Bollywood versus South divide, which I don't know when will the day come and we just say Indian cinema. What do you think?
I think that's about, in my childhood, it was cinema.
Yeah.
And it spoke Hindi. It's a language I didn't understand then.
Yeah.
And it sometimes spoke in Bengali, sometimes in Malayalam, and sometimes in Telugu, but we watched all of it.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, the original version of Ek Duje Ke Liye was in Telugu, but it ran for 2.5 years in Chennai, where they didn't speak the language. That is what prompted a producer to believe that it could do well up north, because without the language, it broke the language barrier.
Absolutely.
Actually speaking of the language rift.
Absolutely. And talking about the language rift, we are still there. And Ek Duje Ke Liye was what, 35 years ago?
40 years.
40 years ago. I have seen it. And we are still speaking about the language rift. And also, I know you're a politician as well. Can we separate the actor and the politician, or do your political ideologies reflect in your film?
The man is the actor and he's a politician also.
Oh. And your films have carried that, whether it was Ek Duje Ke Liye, which was the language rift, and also now with being close on ground with the people, has that also changed your process towards films?
My commitment to the people has increased. I'm not just an internator. Before even calling my address is India. I am Indian and they are my people. And the idea of India was not there 200 years before. It was broken into kingdoms and princely states. And now we dreamt of it and we made it happen, which doesn't seem like an exciting thing to today's generation, but it is exciting. We cannot let it get out of our grips. We should keep hold of it, and it's fantastic to have such a diverse country and puff your chest about it.
So, but is it a rocky terrain to walk on? Because a lot of actors like to keep away their ideologies from what they are. And
I haven't been one of them. At the peril of my career, I have done stuff which has got me into trouble, but that's not that I seek trouble, I seek justice.
If you've liked this interview, please like, share and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram.